So I'm going to be talking about a scene out of Jarhead. This is a 2-minute segment, and it's really two scenes that morph together, but they're both in the same environment, and they're both in the same setting, and it's two very contrasting tones, and I thought the sound design was very well done in these scenes, and so that's why I chose to analyze them. Specifically in this 2-minute segment, if you just watch it, you'll notice the beginning of it, the first half, it's very intense. There's a low drone going on to give it that emotional presence. You're anticipating something bad to happen in the first half of the scene, and this is contrasting to the second half of the scene, which you see what's really going on, and it's just a party and it's a big celebration. So the specific sounds that you're going to hear flares, which I'm going to talk about later. The ambient sounds, you're going to hear layering, a bunch of different layers of wind coming from all different directions. You're going to hear, it might be a rainmaker, it might be leaves rustling, a bunch of different things layered together to kind of make the sound of a sandstorm. This could have been recorded in multiple different ways, even just wind outside could have been recorded and then layered. And then you also hear in the scene music at the beginning, like I was talking about. It's very intense. There's strings. I believe there's strings, and it really builds. It's a completely different mood than the second half, which is hip hop, which even the music in itself is a great example of the contrast which you see in this scene. You're going to see voices that they start off as screams coming from the distance, and then afterwards they kind of morph themselves into cheers, and it's like happy cheers, so it goes from scary screams to happy cheers, and it really does this in a subtle way, coming from all directions and then slowly panning themselves to the characters that are actually on screen. You also hear Foley from the characters. This is centered, and it kind of follows the characters in the same way their specific voices do. So a bunch of different sounds that we're hearing all layered together. Specifically, I want to talk about how the flares might have been made. So these might have been made multiple different ways. It could have been the recording of a bow and arrow. Maybe there was a lav mic put on a bow and arrow and then shot through the air and recorded that way. There could have been a dynamic microphone placed on the ground catching that sound. There could have been, somebody could have been sitting in a car holding a microphone while a car wash happened, or somebody could have been holding a condenser microphone with a windsock over top, taking the windsock off, and the sound could have been made that way. So there's a bunch of different ways that these flare sounds could have been made, or it could have been the recording of actual field recording of a flare, or it could have been a studio recording of a twirling wire that just kind of makes that sound. And then all these sounds are probably layered together. There's probably a lot of reverb added, probably a lot of pitch shifts, so definitely a composite sound for those flares. Also, I want to note that you probably hear a little hissing from the fire, and you see the fire on stage, or on screen. And yeah, so the reason I chose this scene and why it's so effective, like I was saying before, the contrast in the scene is very, very well done. It has a very strong emotional effect on the viewers in the sense that the scene builds that anticipation and then realizes that the anticipation was built for nothing, because it makes you feel scared, and then you realize you have nothing to be scared about, and this is the exact same way that the characters feel. So it really makes a viewer empathize with the character, and this is done very well through sound design. It's almost like you're in completely different settings from the first part of the scene to the second part of the scene, even though they both happen in the same desert. And it's not just one element that forms this, it's everything combined. It's from the music to the low drone that's there and then disappears, to the screams that begin as scary screams and then meld themselves into cheers. So everything combined really forms a great contrast that makes for excellent and impressive sound design, and that's why I chose this segment to analyze.